Welcome back. If you're new, my name is Syndia. I do art stuff. I'm starting my day in the studio and I wanted today to show you my updated first oil pastel kit. I filmed an oil pastel kit a while back, a few years ago. So I just wanted to update it and give you my thoughts on the best things to get when you first start and have a balance between good materials and not going overboard and buying too many things that are not necessarily. Oh, I filmed this a couple of videos ago. If you haven't watched it, if you like cactus, let me gather all the bits, then I'll show you what the ultimate oil pastel kit is. Side note, I'll be going in order of priority when it comes to this first kit. So at the beginning, it's the very basic stuff, going towards more fancy things as we go along. When it comes to oil pastel brands, I reviewed a whole bunch of them. I have my favorites. I feel like most beginners brands will do the job, especially if you've never tried them and if you don't plan on selling your work right off the bat. If it's to test it out and experiment with it, pretty much anything will work. Within affordable brands, there are better ones. In an upcoming video, I plan to do my top 3 affordable oil pastel brands. So if you want to see that, it will be up pretty soon. This one is a good one. It's very affordable. It performs well for experimenting when you first start. A 25-piece set is also a good middle ground. 12 colors might be a little bit limiting, but 25 is good. As far as paper, you can use oil pastels on pretty much any paper, like regular printer paper or whatever, but I do suggest that you get a sketchbook that is acid-free so it won't alter your colors over time. If ever you make a drawing that is really beautiful, you want to keep it. It's always good to have a nice sketchbook. My favorite is the Mixed Media by Canson, the XL. It's nice and thick enough for oil pastel because there's a lot of rubbing involved with oil pastels. So if you can get a paper that is about 100 pounds or more in thickness, it would help you. And something to keep in mind is to have a sketchbook that is large enough. A small sketchbook might be very practical to carry around, but because oil pastels don't really allow for detailed work, if you work in slightly larger formats, it might help you draw better and put in details because the stick is kind of chunky. 9 by 12 or 11 by 14 is pretty much ideal. A pencil and eraser for your sketch. For blending, you can use your finger or a rag to blend colors together, but you can also use a blending stump. So it's basically cardboard that is compacted and made into a pointy bit like this. They have different sizes and they're not expensive and they're very practical for oil pastels. If you use a stump, the way you clean it is by rubbing it onto sandpaper. So having a little piece of sandpaper is handy. You also need a pointy tool, something like a toothpick or something pointy to scratch. You can use scratches to do some textures like hair and stuff like that, but you can also use this to kind of fix a mistake and remove the pigment. It's very handy and useful to have it. Into the realm of non-necessary but really good to have would be Sennelier white oil pastels. If you don't know, Sennelier is the professional kind of oil pastels. There's like $4 for each little stick. They're very expensive, but they're very, very creamy and buttery. They melt into your finger when you work with them too long, and that allows you to put in big chunks of oil pastel over your drawing as a last layer. So white, you can imagine, is a really great tool to have because it helps you blend colors together, and you can also put in really bright highlights, which is amazing. I always get a few sticks of white because I go through them really fast. As a first kit, I would try to get one and see how I feel about it, if I love it or not. Another thing that I really like is a kneaded eraser. Those erasers that are like mudge pudgy. You use that to pick up all the crummies that come with oil pastels so that you keep your drawing neater and you don't have smears all over. They're very handy as well. They're not very expensive, so I would get this for sure. And if you want to be super fancy and if you want to get a step further, there are other ways to blend oil pastels. The cactus that I showed you before was blended using baby oil. It was my first time using it. It works really well. Baby oil is a good thing to experiment with. It's not expensive. You just use it with a very stiff brush and you use the littlest amount possible, not to like load your paper with oil because it's hard to dry. So just a little drop and you can mix your colors together and create gradients that way. You can also create gradients by using paint thinner. I use Gamsol. Paint thinners are all toxic. They're all bad for you. Gamsol doesn't smell like anything. And I think it's one of the better options, but it's still toxic. So use it with gloves, open the window, be careful with it. But I do like Gamsol to dilute paint and create gradients, but also to clean my brushes. If I were to pick the two, I would probably start by using baby oil just because it's super cheap and it's safe and you can get the feeling of blended oil pastels. See how you like that. Another thing I like to have is painter's tape because I like to tape the borders of my paintings, and having like a very neat sharp edge around it keeps it like professional and nice. It's basically masking tape, but less sticky so it won't rip your paper when you take it off. They make it in blue and green, both work really well. Now I want to work on a new painting from my Sunshine State of Mind series. If you don't know what that is, it looks a little bit like this. If you can get like a general idea. I want to at least start on that painting. I explained the meaning of the series in a previous vlog. But first, I want to spray an oil pastel painting that I created because I'm gonna do something very special next week. I'm going to try to use epoxy resin on an oil pastel painting. If you want to see that, you don't want to miss it, turn on notification. You will be notified. It should be up next week, by the end of next week. I don't know if it's going to work, but I hope it does. Epoxy resin is really cool. It's like a glass encasing. It's really hard and glossy. I'm curious to see how it works with oil pastel. This is going to be a test piece, so I will spray like a spray varnish on top of it so that when I put the epoxy, it won't make the colors all run into each other and smear. Gonna go spray that right now. That one's gonna be my test piece. I'm having it dry right now, but let me show you the one that I actually wanna do. This is the one I want to encase in epoxy resin. I made it last year, I think. If this guy goes well and doesn't smear or anything, and if it works, I'll do this one. Next week I'll know if it works. I can't wait. For some reason, I'm going painfully slow today. I'm really not super fast. I thought I could finish this painting that shouldn't be that complicated pretty fast, but it's gonna take me double the time. I worked on the hand and on that stringy thing. I'll let you guess what it is. At this point, I'm gonna let this dry and I'll start working on something else. I'm gonna keep this painting for the next vlog so that you can see the progress and the final result. If you want more oil pastel inspiration, you can go watch this one. If you like vlogs, please turn on notification. There will be one in just a couple of days, so I'll see you very, very soon.